Welcome to the Royal Smith of Chicago, Illinois' new archaeological and theological discoveries. As we review the ancient Ethiopian moon temple and the cross-shaped building of King Lalibela. When we look at the actual land surface grid in Ethiopia as viewed from a helicopter, we see an obelisk type land surface topography surrounding the cross-shaped building of King Lalibela. When we look at the obelisk shape as matching the Lunar land surface 1976 Orange Moon mission obelisk shaped Lunar 3X spacecraft, we see a connection. Welcome to the Royal Smith of Chicago, Illinois' new archaeological and theological discoveries. As we review the ancient Ethiopian Moon Temple and the cross-shaped building of King Lalibela. When we look at the actual land surface grid in Ethiopia as viewed from a helicopter, we see an obelisk type land surface topography surrounding the cross-shaped building of King Lalibela. When we look at the obelisk shape as matching the Lunar land surface 1976 Orange Moon mission obelisk shaped Lunar 3X spacecraft, we see a connection adjacent to the extraterrestrial elongated head image that is seen being generated from the land surface that surrounds the aerial viewed cross-shaped building structure in Ethiopia of King Lalibela. As we look at the cross as being a symbol of the ancient planet of the crossing, as depicted upon the ancient Mesopotamian and Babylonian and Egyptian wall art, we see the cross as a geometric function to the octagon. When the Jerusalem biblical dome of the rock is viewed from space or from a helicopter, we see an octagonal roof that has 8 walls. When we draw lines from the north to the south corner of the octagonal roof of the biblical dome of the rock, and from the east and west corners, we see an image of King Lalibela's aerial view building cross complex. When we reconnect the ancient depiction of the 12th planet, or the planet of kinship, we see that the Ethiopian building structure of King Lalibela is a representation of the 12th planet symbol. When we look at the winged mundus emblem upon the Ethiopian interior wall surface, we see both the winged mundus and the cross are both ancient depictions or representations of the 12th planet in the ancient symbolism. The symbolic connection to the Ethiopian Ark of the Covenant Church that houses Alien Yeshua's biblical Ark of the Covenant. We are looking at an elongated headed group of extraterrestrial biological life forms that created the first elongated headed African Adamic race. However, when we look at the Ethiopian Temple of the Moon from outer space with satellite imagery of the National Space Administration, we see that the surrounding land surface area within that surrounds the area view cross shape of King Lalibela. When we look at the enclosure of King Lalibela's area viewed cross shaped building structure, we see it sitting within a square. However, when we look at Jerusalem area view Temple Mount complex, we see it also existing within the square. The Temple Mount octagonal dome of the rock building complex exists within the square foundation. Remember, the octagonal roof of the biblical dome of the rock in the Middle East, in the Holy Land, when lines are drawn from the east to the west corner of the octagonal roof, and from the north to south corners of the octagonal roof, the resulting image is the aerial viewed cross-shaped building structure of King Lalibela. Seeing that the octagonal roof of the biblical dome of the rock can be seen from a helicopter or from outer space with satellite imagery, we will then be looking at the shape of an octagon as it is viewed upon a square foundation or platform. When we look at the area view King Lalibela cross-shaped building structure, which is built underground, whose roof appears as a cross and it is level with the ground area, whose foundation goes far beneath the ground. We see the cross shape of King Lalibela also appearing within a square. When we look at the solid rock in which the cross-shaped building structure of King Lalibela was carved from, by the help of extraterrestrial elongated heated cherubs, guardians of our entire solar system, we're looking at the cross shape of King Lalibela as a representation of the biblical Dome of the Rock. Now, within the Ethiopian ancient land surface, in addition to its obelisk-like land surface grid, in which the cross-shaped building of King Lalibela appears, we see additional circular land surface features within the obelisk-like land surface topographic imaging. When we compare the ancient 1976 Orange Moon mission of the National Space Administration film footage of an Obelisk 3X type spacecraft that had two pilots. One was a female pilot, female 31, who has upon her forehead area, within a quarter-size seal area upon her forehead, the image of the Jerusalem Temple Mount. When the image of the female, the ancient African female 31, that was retrieved as one of the pilots within this huge lunar land surface obelisk-like 3X spacecraft. When the spacecraft female forehead is magnified, we see a couching North African lion sphinx couched down in front of a Jerusalem Temple Mount. This is impressive because the female had 6 fingers, or 5 fingers and 1 thumb. In the Old Testament, David killed the man called Goliath who had 5 fingers and 1 thumb. So there were 6-finger humanoid life forms upon the surface of planet Earth, and they were recorded in ancient theology. When we look at the female being connected to the Babylonian and Mesopotamian stele pyramid civilizations and depicted as Ishtar, the mother of heaven, when we look at the Egyptian empire depiction of Isis, the mistress of the pyramid, we see that the couching North African lion sphinx of ancient Egypt, that is referenced in Genesis 49 chapter and 8 verse as the 4th son of Jacob, who according to Psalms 105th chapter and 23rd verse is seen entering into ancient Egypt as the 4th son of Jacob amongst the 12 sons of Jacob, where we see him today couched down in front of the 2nd North African Giza pyramids as the biblical couching lion sphinx of ancient Judaism. When we reconnect the Ethiopian interior wall surface imaged African sphinx 51, 51E, and 11 to the huge lunar land surface image of an African sphinx 2101, we see the 2101 African sphinx appearing within a triangular crater group area, or group of triangular crater area upon the ancient moon base associated with the elongated headed alien Yeshua of the Old Testament, where Prophet Ezekiel saw the elongated headed extraterrestrial life form referred to as Yeshua, that is responsible for creating the first elongated headed African Adamic race in his own image and likeness in the Old Testament. Now when we look at the actual creation of the elongated headed African Adamic race by an elongated headed extraterrestrial alien Yeshua that has 3 fingers and 1 thumb and green skin, we are looking at the alien Yeshua disclosure. When we look at the Noah's Ark being a rectangular shape, and that the humans were seen repopulating the surface of planet Earth after they were seen exiting from Noah's Ark rectangular boat structure that landed upon Mount Ararat. When we look at the Mount Ararat and eastern Turkey connection to Noah's Ark, we are looking at the actual archaeological discoveries as they are related to the North African Pyramid of Khufu rectangular king's chamber. So we can successfully connect the rectangular shape of Noah's Ark to the repopulation of planet Earth. Also, we also see that the repopulation of planet Earth from a rectangular structure that landed upon Mount Ararat mountain range in eastern Turkey. We see the 2009 UFO event where a group of elongated-headed extraterrestrials was filmed as they was seen looking out of a V-shaped open door in their moving Kamergas Turkey 2009 UFO. If we look at the Elohim of the Old Testament, King James Version of the Bible, that was seen traveling around in Ezekiel's biblical glowing wheel within a wheel-like spacecraft that had a crystal dome. If we compare these elongated-headed modern 2009 extraterrestrials that was observed and filmed in the Kamergas Turkey UFO incident, we would then logically be able to reconnect the original elongated-headed extraterrestrials that's turning up in skulls that are turning up in archaeological sites around the world. We can now logically connect and place the elongated-headed extraterrestrial biological life forms that has 3 fingers and 1 thumb and green skin and a long watermelon head, and we can place them into the actual category of let us make man into our own image type of Elohim. Then we would have successfully identified the pilots of the biblical wheel within the wheel-like spacecraft that landed upon ancient Egypt's Mount Sinai mountain range in the Old Testament. We would then be able to reunite the elongated-headed first created African Adamic race with their extraterrestrial Elohim. When we look at the creation of Adam, okay, we must first agree with modern archaeologists that Africans was the first people to populate the surface of the earth. When we have done so, and returned back to the book of Genesis, human creation, in the King James Bible, we see and we would be looking at an elongated-headed extraterrestrial biological life form that had 3 fingers and 1 thumb and green skin and a long watermelon head, actually creating in his own image and likeness the first elongated-headed African Adam. However, the book of Genesis speaks of 2 creations. The first creation is the elongated-headed African Adamic race in Genesis 1:26. The second creation deals with the normal-headed Africans of the Adamic civilization. It was the normal-headed Africans that were seen repopulating the surface of planet Earth after Noah's flood from a rectangular boat that landed upon Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey. Hence, all of the ancient Judaism's holy sites deals with this octagon and dome shape and rectangular shape that has a dome, such as the El Sharia Mosque in the Middle East, in the Holy Land. When we look at the 1976 Orange Moon mission, it reviewed land surface topography where this Obelisk huge 3X spacecraft was filmed by NASA, by the National Space Administration. We see within the 3X spacecraft land surface area, as viewed from space upon the moon, within an elongated-headed alien Yeshua type ancient moon base. We see many of Temple Mount structures or domed building structures. The buildings are rectangular in shape and they have a dome that appears upon a lunar surface, as filmed in the original 1976 Orange Moon mission. When we look at the original 2 ancient astronaut pilots that was retrieved from this lunar land surface obelisk-like huge 3X spacecraft, we see a female 31, an African female, which can be connected to the ancient Mesopotamian and Sumerian and Egyptian civilizations. She was depicted as Ishtar, the Queen of Heaven, in the Babylonian stele pyramid civilizations of Ham that originally started the Egyptian civilization. So in ancient Egypt, we see the stele pyramids of Saqqara as starter points to the original Mercator projections that's seen in stele pyramids around the world. When we look at the Egyptian depiction of Isis, or the Queen of Heaven, or the Mistress of the Pyramid, who is also referred to as the Mistress of the Pyramid, we see that the female upon the lunar land surface within the huge obelisk-like spacecraft that is connected to the area-viewed Ethiopian land surface topography, where we see King Lalibela's cross-shaped building as viewed from space as existing within the same obelisk-type land surface enclosure. Within this obelisk shape upon the area-viewed Ethiopian land surface, we see a square dug down into the rock surface. A square. We see within the square a perfect centered cross-shaped building structure. When we look at the Jerusalem Temple Mount from space, we see it also. The octagonal building platform is a square where the Dome of the Rock rests upon. When we look at the octagonal roof of the biblical Dome of the Rock and draw lines from the north to the south corners of the octagonal roof of the Mosque of Omar, and from the east to the west corner of the octagonal roof, the resulting image is the cross shape of the Ethiopian king Lalibela ancient building structure, which is also seen within a square foundation. The cross shape of King Lalibela appearing within the square foundation appears within the huge obelisk land surface topographic 3S spacecraft image. The same 3X obelisk shape of the Lunar 1976 Orange Moon mission spacecraft has now been rediscovered upon the ancient North African Ethiopian land surface topography, as we now have relocated the 1976 Orange Moon mission 3X obelisk-like spacecraft original shape upon the Ethiopian upon the Ethiopian land surface topography, where we see the cross-shaped building of King Lalibela as viewed from space. I've given this obelisk-like land surface feature where we see the cross within the square. Now, when we look at the original area-viewed cross shape of King Lalibela within the square and compare it with the biblical Dome of the Rock actual octagonal building structure appearing within the square foundation of the Temple Mount, we would have successfully decoded the ancient North African elongated-headed extraterrestrials of the Old Testament, including the wheel-within-the-wheel-like spacecraft. When we look at the area-view Ethiopian land surface, we see many circular features and Temple Mount-like features also, which is impressive. So we have an obelisk land surface type topography where we see the area-viewed King Lalibela cross-shaped building existing within a square within this obelisk huge land surface shape. When we look at the surrounding structures upon the moon in relationship to its huge Lunar 3X obelisk-like spacecraft that was filmed during the 1976 Orange Moon mission by the National Space Administration, we see also Temple Mount structures. So, of the two ancient astronauts that were discovered upon the lunar surface within this huge Egyptian obelisk-like spacecraft, we have a female astronaut, 31, who has the image of the biblical Jerusalem Temple Mount as it is seen within a quarter-size forehead seal area, where when you blow up the Temple Mount image upon the female 31 forehead, we see the image of the North African couching lion sphinx next to a Jerusalem Temple Mount. This would ultimately uncover the scriptural reference in Genesis 49 chapter and 8 verse that's read in the Old Testament in the King James Version of the Bible that refers to the biblical North African couching lion sphinx of ancient Judaism as having gone up. If I quote from the passage of Genesis 49 chapter 8 verse, we see that the biblical North African couching lion sphinx of ancient Judaism was actually transported above the atmospheric regions of planet Earth and up into the outer regions of space by the original elongated-headed extraterrestrials, cherubims. They are the guardians of our entire solar system. This uncovers the scriptural reference, if I quote from it, in Genesis 49, chapter 8, verse, it says, Judah, thou art he whom all thy brothers shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. He couched down as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? Thou art gone up. All thy father's children shall bow down unto thee. Where did the 12 tribes of Israel, or Jacob, bow down unto the North African Celtic lion sphinx of ancient Judaism, as referenced in Genesis 49, chapter 8, verse? It occurred in ancient Egypt. So when we review the 400-year-old mistranslated King James Version of the Bible story that was given to us by 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars under King James authority, we're looking at theological racism when we look at the denial in the King James Bible that's read in churches all around America of the North African Celtic lion sphinx of ancient Judaism actual role as the biblical North African sphinx of ancient Egypt. When we look at the lunar landsurface image of a huge 2101 African image sphinx face within the elongated-headed alien Yeshua moon base, we also see African sphinx faces strewn across the lunar surface that are connected to a Temple Mount area upon the lunar surface. new archaeological and theological discoveries concerning the original lunar land surface ancient astronaut record. As we look at the original 1976 Orange Moon mission, of the National Space Administration, we noticed that the hidden National Space Administration land surface images upon the lunar surface reveals an ancient alien moon base that is connected to the biblical Yeshua of the King James Bible, an elongated headed extraterrestrial life form that was seen traveling around in the Old Testament atmosphere in Ezekiel's biblical glowing wood within a wood-like spacecraft that had a crystal dome that eventually landed upon ancient Egypt's mountain range referred to as Mount Sinai. When we look at the elongated headed Africans in the ancient Egyptian empire and connect them to being created by Genesis, human creation story by this extraterrestrial life form referred to as alien Yeshua. When we look at the lunar land surface images up close, we see the Ethiopian moon temple interior wall surface image African think space 51, 51E, and 11 appearing upon the lunar surface as a huge African 2101 think space. The Giza Sphinx is connected to Genesis, the first book in the King James Bible, fourth son of Jacob, who is referred to as the biblical couching lion in the tribe of ancient Judaism. When we look at the North African couching lion sphinx of ancient Egypt in front of the second Giza pyramid and find the exact 3 Giza pyramids as they are air viewed from space, from a helicopter, appearing upon the lunar land surface in perfect condition, we would be looking at the reference point of the African couching lion sphinx as referenced in the book of Genesis 49 chapter and 8 verse in the phrase, Judah, thou art a lion's whelp from the prey, my son, thou art going up. Up refers to the biblical African lion sphinx as being taken up above the atmospheric regions of planet Earth and into the outer regions of space. When we look at the concealed National Space Administration lunar land surface image huge African 2101 think space in which I rediscovered, and the 200 image of the Giza pyramids, 3 of them, we must reconsider ancient Judaism, North African couching lion sphinx of ancient Egypt. As we look at the elongated headed African Adamic race being created by an elongated headed extraterrestrial biological life form that had 3 fingers and 1 thumb and green skin, we can look at the creation of the first Adam as referenced in Genesis 1:26 as the creation of the first elongated headed African Adamic race. We can look at the normal headed Africans of our modern society as being created in the second creation as referenced in Genesis 2:7. It is only when we agree with modern archaeologists that Africans were the first people to populate the surface of planet Earth. Then when we return back to the book of Genesis, human creation of 1:26 in the book of Genesis, first chapter 26 verse, we can truly see an elongated headed extraterrestrial biological life form with 3 fingers and 1 thumb and green skin and a long watermelon head, actually creating the first elongated headed African, Adam. When we look at the Earth being in a universal a solar system war, we can now uncover the true story of the Tower of Babel incident that brought about the flooding of the ancient land surface of planet Earth, where we see the normal-headed Africans surviving this great flood in a rectangular boat that was given to Noah by elongated-headed extraterrestrial cherubims of alien Yeshua. When we look at Noah's Ark landing upon Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey, which is where we see a group of normal-headed Africans exiting from a rectangular boat. The boat of Noah had the same rectangular shape or dimensions as the second pyramid of Khufu internal upper king's chamber room. So when we look at the biblical North African calcium lion sphinx of Genesis 49 chapter and 8 verse, newly discovered lunar land surface pyramids of Giza and the huge lunar land surface image African sphinx face 2101, we can logically reconnect the transportation of the biblical Chaldean North African lion sphinx of ancient Egypt above the atmospheric regions of planet Earth and up onto the lunar land surface. And we can reconnect the fourth planet, Sidonian pyramid area, African sphinx face and pyramids. Both complexes have the constellation of Orion within a two-sun solar system image. The lunar land surface area of the 1976 Orange Moon mission by the National Space Administration reveals a huge Obelisk-like 3X spacecraft. It is huge, and this huge Obelisk-like spacecraft that was filmed during the 1976 Orange Moon mission has upon its exterior hull surface the image of a two-sun solar system next to its exterior 3X spacecraft surface vertical and horizontal lines, generated constellation of Orion image. To find the constellation of Orion image upon the side of a huge obelisk-like 3X spacecraft and a two-sun solar system image next to this constellation of Orion image upon the side of a huge Egyptian obelisk-like spacecraft. When we compare the constellation of Orion image that is generated from the pyramids back here on Earth in Giza, we look at the area-viewed extended apotums and baselines of the North African pyramids of Khufu. As we see the extended apotums and baseline actually generating the geometric image of the constellation of Orion, as it is seen overlapping a rectangular king's chamber structure. Keep in mind, if we apply the repopulation of planet Earth after Noah's flood by normal-headed Africans of the Adamic race, as they were seen exiting from a rectangular boat, we can apply the same repopulation of planet Earth to the interior rectangular room of the king's chamber located within the second pyramid of Khufu. Therefore, the North African Chaldean lion sphinx of ancient Judaism is telling the story of how ancient Africans repopulated the surface of the earth after alien Yeshua and his elongated-headed African Adamic race battled for the survival of humanity. What type of humanity? If the elongated-headed Africans had 4 fingers and 1 thumb, they can be referred to as the angels or biological cherubims. If they was created by an older extraterrestrial alien Yeshua that had 3 fingers and 1 thumb and green skin and a long watermelon head, then this becomes the biological God that created humanity. However, when we look at the elongated-headed extraterrestrial that has 3 fingers and 1 thumb and green skin and a long watermelon head that was seen traveling around in the Old Testament atmosphere in the glowing circle of will within a will-like spacecraft that had a crystal dome, we must first pause and relocate this crystal dome and a circular wheel within a wheel-like equatorial perimeter upon the lunar land surface. And I have done just that. By relocating a triangular group of craters as depicted upon an ancient Sumerian seal in which I named 4P, we have actually located the ancient moon base of an elongated-headed alien Yeshua, 7, which is depicted upon the interior wall of the Ethiopian Temple of the Moon, as alien Yeshua 7. Now, we see upon the Ethiopian Moon Temple interior wall surface and the image of a 1947 Roswell alien face being depicted. The 1947 Roswell alien has a ball-shaped head and 6 fingers, or 5 fingers and 1 thumb. So this will explain that the Roswell alien was created after the 4 fingers and 1 thumb normal-headed Africans. This would explain why the Roswell alien does not have a watermelon head, but a big basketball-like head. So, the devil to the normal-headed Africans became the Roswell Caucasus Mountain inhabitants, referred to as the children of Zeus or Apollyon. In Revelation 9 chapter 11 verse of the King James Bible and Daniel 8 chapter 12 verse, we see that the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and in the latter times of his kingdom, he should stretch forth his hands upon the ancient Ethiopian Cushite kingdoms of Giza, Gaza, Gath, Ekron, Escalon, and Jerusalem. Having solved the theological debate concerning the normal-headed Africans repopulating the surface of planet Earth after they were seen exiting from a rectangular boat that landed upon Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey. When we reconnect the repopulation of planet Earth to the rectangular king's chamber dimensions located within the interior walls of the North African pyramids of Khufu, we see a story unfolding concerning the North African Chaldean lion sphinx of ancient Judaism. When we look at the Egyptian sphinx Thumbpaw stellar stone, we see a rectangular structure that has two dual Chaldean lions, whose tails touch in such a way that they are seen generating the El Sharia Mosque. When we look at the lunar surface, we see a structure and a dome that has a dome. Next to, and within a crater area, we see an extraterrestrial face. Next to this dome, El Sharia Mosque-like image upon a lunar surface. There are many of African faces and extraterrestrial faces carved on the lunar surface. But the bonus point is discovering the African sphinx face amongst these extraterrestrial ruins of an elongated headed alien Yeshua, which was seen to geometrically and theologically and archaeologically confirm the scriptural reference in Genesis 49 chapter 8 verse that reveals that the biblical Chaldean lion of the tribe of ancient Judaism, the North African Chaldean lion sphinx of ancient Egypt, as he is seen crouched down in front of the second Giza pyramid, was actually transported above the atmosphere into the outer regions of space by a group of elongated headed cherubims, biological life forms, that are truly the guardians of our entire solar system, put in charge over our solar system and the guardian of planet Earth's normal-headed African Adamic race by an elongated-headed alien Yeshua, 7, whose image is depicted upon the interior walls of the Ethiopian Temple of the Moon. I have uploaded a lot of new Temple Mount and El Sharia Mosque images that were discovered upon the lunar land surface. When we look at the new lunar land surface mosque images of an elongated-headed group of extraterrestrials referred to as the Elohim of the book of Genesis that said, "Let us make man into our own image and likeness," we are looking at the actual uncovering of the terminology used in the ancient Sumerian and Egyptian civilizations that refers to a group of beings that created the first elongated-headed African Adamic race and the normal-headed Africans. Now we see that the lunar land surface actual dome of the rock image is located within an elongated-headed extraterrestrial lunar surface, moon base. Now, this discovery redefines ancient Judaism when we add into the equation the hidden story of the biblical North African Chaldean lion sphinx of ancient Egypt, who is referenced as the fourth son of Jacob in the book of Genesis 49 chapter and 8 verse, who has the title in the book of Genesis 49 chapter as the biblical Chaldean lion of the tribe of ancient Judaism. When we look at the denial of the black African sphinx in the King James Bible, the 400-year-old mistranslated King James Bible that's read in churches all around the world, we look at the mistranslation being purposely done by 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars under King James authority 400 years ago. If we look at the enslavement of the Ethiopian and Axumite Cushite kingdoms by a group of Greek and Roman descendants who had a god over them who had 5 fingers and 1 thumb, he becomes the Apollyon of Revelation 9 chapter 11 verse that should wage war against the elongated-headed Elohim of ancient Judaism. when we look at the Giza Pyramid generation of podiums and baselines, actually geometrically generating the constellation of Orion in the cube structure of New Jerusalem, as referenced in Revelation 21st chapter and 18th verse. We then look at the Seal of Solomon, which is a 6-point star, and the central focus of the Seal of Solomon is the cube structure of New Jerusalem. Now when we look at this archaeological Temple Mount image that's discovered upon the lunar land surface, in addition to the huge 3X Obelisk-like spacecraft during the 1976 Orange Moon mission by the National Space Administration, where within this huge Obelisk-like spacecraft, NASA filmed 2 astronauts that was preserved. One was the female astronaut 31, who had upon a quarter-size seal area upon her forehead the image of the Jerusalem Temple Mount. The other astronaut was badly decomposed. Well, it was badly unrecognizable, but you can still see that it had an elongated head. However, the female astronaut had 5 fingers and 1 thumb. So when we look at the Old Testament, we do find human beings with 6 fingers. So we're looking at the war in Gath, as recorded in the book of 2 Samuel and the book of Chronicles, where David killed a man called Goliath that had 6 fingers. Okay, so we are looking at an actual reality when we review the National Space Administration original Orange Moon mission footage of a female astronaut 31, an actual African female that had the 5 fingers and 1 thumb. Okay, she has the Temple Mount upon her forehead, the Jerusalem Temple Mount. So when we look at she was one of the pilots, 2 of the pilots. The second pilot, again, was an elongated headed humanoid life form. So if we look at alien Yeshua having an elongated head, 3 fingers and 1 thumb and green skin, it's not sure how many fingers the second pilot that had the elongated head had, because only his head was retrieved in the original 1976 Orange Moon mission and brought back to planet Earth. As we see, the full body of the female was filmed in the cockpit shuttle area by the National Space Administration original astronauts in the 1976 original Orange Moon mission. So NASA has been lying to the public concerning the actual elongated headed alien Yeshua 7 moon base and the actual images of pyramids as they are seen in the Area View Giza Pyramid Complex, and the African Sphinx and the huge African Sphinx face. So ancient Judaism, as we know it, would now be, with these great archaeological discoveries of Lalibela Smith, redefined. Now when we look at the extraterrestrial images next to a Temple Mount image, there are many domes and located upon circular platforms upon the moon surface within the ancient alien moon base of an elongated headed alien Yeshua. So now when we look at and agree with modern archaeologists that Africans was the first people to populate the surface of the earth, then when we do so and we turn back to the book of Genesis, human creation, we see an elongated headed alien Yeshua that had 3 fingers and 1 thumb and green skin and a long watermelon head, actually creating the first elongated headed African Adamic race in his own image and likeness. So now when we review the ancient Mesopotamian stealth pyramid civilizations of Babylon, starting the Egyptian Empire, we can see the elongated headed Africans appearing in ancient Egypt, such as Pharaoh Akhenaten, Ramesses, and Moses. They all had elongated heads. In fact, they shared the same elongated headed genealogy of the extraterrestrial alien Yeshua that created them 75 million years ago. So the Garden of Eden story goes way back further than 10,000 years. The first elongated headed African that had 4 fingers and 1 thumb appeared upon the surface of the earth 75 million years ago in the land mass called Pangaea. Before this war broke out in heaven between elongated headed the elongated headed extraterrestrial cherubims, okay, that existed upon planet Earth and that was created upon planet Earth by the holy hydrolytic creation, which is referenced in Malachi 4th chapter and 2nd verse as the winged sun disk. We look at Psalms 84th chapter 11th verse as the sun presence of the creator of our entire solar system. So now, when we look at the sun as actually creating the first microcellular organism, such as the eukaryote cells and the preprotozoans and bacterial flagellates. When the hydrogen light of Malachi 4th chapter 2nd verse winged sun disk, which is the holy hydrogen light of creation that's spoken of in 1 John 1:1 that became flesh, we see that the ionized hydrogen light traveling 93 million miles away across the vastness and blackness of outer space towards a rotating Earth. When this ionized hydrogen light hits the crystal prism, we see 7 straight lines of color. But when this ionized hydrogen light, the holy hydrogen light of creation, coming from the biblical light, the light of every man that cometh into the world, as the Malachi 4th chapter 2nd verse winged sun disk, which is written upon all the walls and temples of ancient Egypt, we see this ionized solar wind as hydrogen light striking a rotating magnetic field. So when a hydrogen light strikes the magnetic field, we see 7 circular rainbow colors. So this is important because when we look at the human cell in Biology 101, we see the cell wall plasma, and cell nucleus. When we magnify the human cell 1,000,000 times with the electron microscope, we see a glowing circle of white ionized hydrogen light around all your cells. This becomes 1 John 1:1, biblical light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world. It becomes the same message of the elongated heated African pharaoh, such as Pharaoh Akhenaten, who has his hands upraised towards the rising sun of Malachi 4th chapter 2nd verse, winged sun disk. So the elongated headed Africans was teaching normal headed Africans about the holy hydrogen light of creation as being the supreme force within our solar system that created planet Earth and all biological life forms, including them, the elongated headed Elohim that created the first normal headed African Adamic race. So thank you for viewing these great archaeological and theological discoveries. For more information, you may send your emails to larelsmith@att.net, or you may phone me at 773-375-8003. Thank you very much.